there's a concept called mental accounting or siloing. And so we're going to start with an analogy. It's a farming analogy. So imagine you are the farmer, and you have two silos that contain identical silage. That's the word of the day, silage. And one of your cows is labeled, or one of your silos rather, is labeled sheep, and the other is labeled cows. And there was a really solid plan in place to feed your sheep and your cows through the winter, because silage is actually, it's basically a preserving process for food. And so unfortunately 2020 happened and half your herd gets wiped out by the cow COVID. And at the same time, your sheep have been busy and you have more sheep than you had originally planned on. So if you stick to your original plan, you'll have to, I can't even read this way. You'll have excess food for the cows and a deficiency for the sheep. But you're a smart cookie, so you're going to take the extra cow food and you're going to use it to take care of your sheep, and everybody's happy except for the COVID cows. Sad face. And so mental accounting is labeling those silos. And so what is this analogy trying to teach us? Is that a lot of people benefit from creating and maintaining strict structures in their lives. These are good things about building good structures, but it can, in this case, it could be a good habit if you wanted to be really good at basketball, just like dedicate an hour every single day, no matter what, right? But sometimes too much structure can work against you, and managing your budget is one of those kinds of exercises where you can go overboard with the structure. So it's great to get a goal and stick to it, but sometimes, as you pointed out in the previous conversation, with those contingencies that could happen, we have to adjust to unforeseen events. And so, an example that might be in your own life. So you set up a budget that you allocate $100 a month to take in the subway, so you get to work. And your boss actually is like, "Hey, we got a bunch of extra shifts, and you can make more money, so that's great." And you've also been doing a great job at managing those indulgences. So your weekday Slurpees, you've kind of dialed those back a bit. You're worried about early onset diabetes or something. So you got a little extra room in your budget that way. And so mental siloing would be saying, I set up $100 for this, and it has to be $100 for this, and we can't reallocate one way or the other. This is my subway money, right? And it's gone now, so I can't make an adjustment of some kind. People really do this. So, I work with a lot of people and help them to again manage their finances, and this is a very common thing that people will do. The subway example is kind of silly because obviously, business owners, they understand when they can play around, but it's obvious that most people would be able to play around with their budget, so they can figure out how to have a little more cash for that. So it's pretty obvious that we could just, pay the extra money for the subway because you're going to earn more income. So that's a no-brainer, but it would be an adjustment that you would make because you're not stuck in a structure that's too rigid. And then you could also, you're actually forced to consider what you're going to do with your surplus because it's money that's going to be sitting around and not allocated. So, it precludes mental accounting because you're like, well, I have to do something with it. So what's it going to be? And you have to come up with a new plan, right? So it's being agile.